The man who asked for a ride. I was driving through Nevada late at night. The highway stretched endlessly, empty and silent. My radio kept losing signal every few miles. That's when I saw a man standing on the roadside. His thumb was raised, asking for a ride. He looked normal enough from a distance. Worn jacket, dusty jeans, and a backpack. Something about his stillness felt strange, though. He didn't wave or move, just stood there. I slowed down despite the fear in my chest. As soon as he got into the car, the air changed. The temperature dropped like a window was open. He smelled faintly of metal and wet earth. He didn't say thank you or even look at me. He just stared straight ahead, silent. I tried making small talk to ease the tension. "Long night out here," I said with a nervous laugh. He didn't respond, not even a nod. His eyes stayed fixed on the road ahead. The silence grew heavy and uncomfortable. After a few miles, I noticed something unsettling. The reflection in my rearview mirror was wrong. I could see his seat, but not his face. Like his reflection refused to appear. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. He finally spoke, after 10 long minutes. His voice was low, almost like a whisper. "You shouldn't stop for people like me." My stomach dropped as he slowly turned his head. His smile was too wide to be human. I swallowed hard and forced myself to stay calm. "Where do you need to go?" I asked carefully. He pointed ahead, into complete darkness. "There," he said, though nothing was there, just desert and endless black road. As we drove, the radio turned on by itself. Static filled the car, then faint screaming sounds. I hadn't touched the controls at all. The hitchhiker tilted his head, listening closely, like he recognized the voices. I glanced at him again, and nearly crashed. His face looked older, decayed and patched. Skin sagged unnaturally, eyes sunken deep. But when I blinked, he looked normal again. I told myself exhaustion was playing tricks. He suddenly asked, "Do you believe in ghosts?" The question hit me like a punch. I didn't answer, afraid of what he'd say next. He chuckled softly, a dry, broken sound. "Good," he whispered. "They believe in you." The road signs started repeating the same mile number. No matter how far I drove, it never changed. My GPS spun wildly, showing no location. Panic crept into my breathing. The hitchhiker watched me closely now. "Pull over," he said calmly. His tone wasn't a request. It was a command. I shook my head, refusing. His smile returned, wider than before. "People usually listen by now," he added. Suddenly, I remembered an old local story about a hitchhiker who died in a crash. They said he still asked for rides at night. Anyone who refused never made it home. My heart began pounding violently. I slammed the brakes without thinking. The car screeched and came to a stop. When I looked to the passenger seat, it was empty. The door was still locked from the inside. Cold fog lingered where he had been sitting. Shaking, I drove away as fast as I could. I didn't stop until sunrise broke the darkness. Later, I searched the story online. A photo showed the same man I picked up. Missing. Declared dead in 1989. She was already dead. It was raining heavily in rural Pennsylvania. The road was narrow, surrounded by thick forest. My headlights barely cut through the darkness. That's when I saw a young woman waving desperately. She looked terrified and soaked to the bone. I almost didn't stop, but something felt wrong. She was barefoot, standing in the middle of the road. Her clothes looked old, like from another decade. She kept looking behind her, shaking violently. I pulled over and unlocked the door. She climbed in quickly and whispered, "Please drive." Her voice trembled like she was about to cry. I asked if someone was chasing her. She nodded but refused to explain. I stepped on the gas without thinking. As we drove, I noticed her skin was freezing cold. Rainwater dripped from her hair onto the seat, but the seatbelt never moved when she leaned forward. It was like her body didn't weigh anything. A chill crawled slowly up my spine. She stared at the dashboard clock, silently. When it hit to 17 a.m., she gasped sharply. "Don't stop the car," she whispered urgently. Her nails dug into the seat fabric. I could feel pure fear radiating from her. The forest around us seemed to close in. Trees blurred together like moving shadows. The radio turned to static without warning. Through the noise, I heard faint crying. She covered her ears and screamed softly. I asked her what was wrong, trying to stay calm. She looked at me with tears in her eyes. "They're replaying it again," she said. I didn't understand what she meant, but my heart told me I didn't want to. Suddenly, she pointed toward the trees. Headlights flickered deep inside the forest. A car appeared, crushed and overturned. Police lights flashed briefly. "Tenbani," said. My stomach twisted in terror. She began sobbing uncontrollably beside me. "I died here," she whispered between breaths. My hands shook as I tried to process it. I looked at her face and saw bruises, fresh wounds forming like memories returning. I slammed the brakes and yelled, "This isn't real." The car skidded but didn't stop completely. She turned to me slowly, expression empty. "It happens every night," she said softly, "and you're part of it now." I felt something grab the steering wheel. Not hands, but pressure, cold and heavy. The car veered toward the forest road. I screamed and fought to regain control. Her laughter filled the car suddenly. Then everything went silent all at once. The rain stopped. The forest disappeared. I was parked safely on the shoulder. The passenger seat was empty. Only wet footprints led into the woods. I drove home shaking, afraid to look back. The next morning, I searched local news. A girl had died in a hit. Same road, same time, years ago. Her photo matched the hitchhiker exactly. The hitchhiker who never left. I was driving through rural Texas just after midnight. The highway was empty, stretching like a black scar. My gas was low, but the next station was far. That's when I saw a man walking slowly ahead. He didn't raise his thumb, but I stopped anyway. He opened the door without asking and sat down. He wore a long coat, despite the summer heat. His face was hidden beneath a low hat. He smelled strongly of gasoline and smoke. I felt uneasy, but didn't say anything. I asked where he was headed, keeping my eyes forward. He replied calmly, "Same place as you." That answer made my chest tighten instantly. I laughed nervously, hoping it was a joke. He didn't laugh back. As we drove, I noticed the mirrors acting strange. Every time I checked, he wasn't reflected properly. Sometimes his head appeared twisted backward. Other times, he appeared sitting far too close. I stopped checking altogether. The road signs began to repeat again and again. Same exit number, same faded lettering. My GPS froze, showing no movement at all. The hitchhiker finally turned his head slowly. "You missed your turn a long time ago," he said. I told him I would drop him at the next stop. He shook his head slowly, almost disappointed. "I don't get out anymore," he replied. My heart began pounding violently in my chest. "What do you mean?" I asked. He lifted his sleeve calmly and showed me his arm. It was burned black, skin melted unnaturally. The smell of smoke suddenly filled the car. Images flashed in my mind without warning. A car fire, screaming, metal twisting violently. I realized I was seeing his death. He had burned alive in a roadside crash, and he had never escaped the vehicle. My hands trembled as fear took over. "I can't help you," I whispered. He smiled gently for the first time. "I know," he said in a tired voice, "but I can stay with you." The interior lights flickered violently. The car temperature rose sharply. Smoke began leaking from the dashboard vents. I slammed the brakes and tried to unlock the doors. They wouldn't open, no matter how hard I pulled. The hitchhiker stared straight ahead calmly. "This is where I died," he said. Flames appeared briefly on the hood. I screamed, thinking the car was on fire. Then everything stopped instantly. The smoke vanished like it never existed. The engine was still running normally. I turned to the passenger seat slowly. He was still there, staring at me, but now his face was burned completely. Skin cracked, eyes glowing faintly. "You see it now," he whispered. I shut my eyes and prayed desperately. When I opened them again, the seat was empty. The car doors unlocked by themselves. I stumbled out onto the shoulder, gasping. The road looked completely normal again. I never picked up another hitchhiker after that night, but sometimes, When I drive alone late, I smell smoke inside my car suddenly, and hear a calm voice beside me say, "Same place as you." The hitchhiker who was UI was driving home from work in rural Ohio. It was past 1 a.m., and exhaustion blurred my thoughts. The road was familiar, but felt strangely wrong. Fog rolled in thick, swallowing the headlights. That's when I saw someone standing ahead. The man looked exactly like me from behind. Same height, same jacket, same slow posture. I laughed nervously, thinking it was coincidence, but my laughter died as he turned around. I was staring at my own face. A-looked, paley eyes, hollow and exhausted. There was dried blood on his forehead. His clothes were torn exactly where mine were clean. He raised his thumb silently, asking for a ride. My body refused to move, but my foot stopped the car. He opened the door and sat beside me. The car shook slightly under his weight. I could hear my own breathing twice now. He smelled like iron and cold rain. Neither of us spoke for a long time. Finally, I asked the question I feared most. "What happened to you?" I whispered. He stared straight ahead of the road. "I didn't stop," he said quietly. "Last time, I didn't stop." The road ahead began changing subtly. Guardrails appeared twisted and broken. Skid marks stretched endlessly across the asphalt. My heart started racing as memories surfaced. A crash I never remembered having. He slowly turned his head toward me. Half his face was crushed inward unnaturally. Glass shards were embedded in his skin. "I was late, just like you," he said, "and someone needed a ride." Images flooded my mind without permission. A dark figure on the roadside years ago. My headlights passing them without slowing. The sickening sound of impact. And me driving away in panic. I screamed and tried to open the door. The locks clicked but refused to release. The car began accelerating on its own. The speedometer climbed past safe limits. He smiled sadly and spoke again. "You don't remember dying," he said softly. "But I do. Every single night." The fog thickened until nothing else existed. The road ahead ended suddenly in darkness. I realized I was reliving the moment. The car slammed into something unseen. Pain exploded through my body instantly. Then everything went quiet and still. I found myself standing on the roadside, watching my car disappear into the fog. Another set of headlights approached slowly. A driver stared at me with hesitation. I raised my thumb without thinking. My mouth opened against my will, and I whispered, "Please, I need a ride."